Hey guys, how's everyone doing? This is Nick from ForexForNoobs.com with the daily analysis. Today is Tuesday, the 13th of October 2020, and time is 7:31 here in the UK. You're looking at an AUD New Zealand daily chart. We're going to pop up to AUD USD real quickly and go from there. Right, so we're starting today's webinar a bit earlier than normal. I'm having some work done on the house and the power's intermittently gonna need to be on, off, on, off. So I don't have reliable power throughout the day. So I'm getting this in before the builders get here and start messing around with my power. So let's just dive right into it. AUD USD, we were looking here for a potential short. Just one last thing, actually. I didn't do weekend analysis this week because I just didn't really see anything major that changed on Friday that made me want to do weekend analysis. It didn't really make sense. Then I was looking at potential analysis on Monday, but I was waiting for for Monday's candle to close. So basically, it just wasn't really worth doing analysis this weekend. Although I do somewhat regret that with this move on AUD USD, but I am looking for a short here on AUD USD. It dropped down a bit more than I was expecting today, overnight. So around 1 a.m. it did a pretty big drop, and now it's kind of recovering slowly. So I'm looking to get in short, maybe on a bit of a pullback here. I don't want to get in short yet, but on a bit of a pullback. Last week was a bit of a slow week, but we're coming off a whole bunch of wins. So I'm hoping that this one could be a win also. This is roughly what the trade will look like. I'm waiting for a pullback to around 0.7197. Stop loss, I want it above the high of this candle here, so around about 0.7246 or slightly more. And target, it just makes sense to have it at this previous dip, and then if it keeps pushing down from here, obviously extend it. But this is a pretty hopeful target too. I mean, ideally I'd be looking for an exit anywhere beyond around about here. When it gets to here, depending on what happens, depending on how much it slows down, I'll be looking for an exit from around there. But yeah, there's a potential setup there. Just going to wait for a pullback. GBP USD. Now this one has pushed above resistance, so there's no potential trade here anymore. We were looking for a short last week, but there's nothing there anymore. AUD Jpy. This one's already turned around yesterday, but you could have entered on the 12-hour, but I just didn't really see a valid setup here. I didn't really want to enter on the 12-hour, so this one's off my list. CAD JPY has gone beyond resistance, so nothing really there. EURAUD JPY, why do I have this? Oh yeah, because we're talking about potential setup. But there's no setup here, so that's off the list. GBPJPY, we're still waiting for a push up to resistance on here, but it's not quite happened yet. And SGDJPY, this is not something that it's not a pair that I genuinely trade myself. But I know that some people traded from this resistance area yesterday, and they're currently in the trade. So is anyone that's in this room in this trade? Because I only know 2 people who got in this one. It's not a pair that we commonly trade. So honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if only 2 people are in this one. Doesn't look like anyone's in it, but if you are, just let me know. All right, let's look for some new potential setups. All right, so we got a bit of a range here on Euro AUD. It's had two bounces from the top of this range, two bounces. Well, it's in the middle of its bottom bounce. So what I look for when I'm trading ranges is an M. So the M is the two top bounces. See that M shape? That signifies the two top bounces. Let me draw it in blue, that way it's a bit more visible. That's the M shape. And we're also looking for a W shape, an M and a W. So here's the W shape, but the W is not complete. We want the W to get all the way to the top, make it a big W, and then we have the range confirmed. So we're just waiting for price to hit this resistance area, at which point this will be a confirmed range, and I'll be looking for a short from the top there, from that resistance area. So there's a potential trade here on Euro AUD. It's a bit out, but it looks like it's going to get there. This is viable with ranges. I'm way more willing to trade on the smaller time frames, like the 12-hour, 8-hour, 6-hour. So this is viable across all time frames, 6-hour, 8-hour, 12-hour. Just go for it. But as always, the larger the time frame, the safer the setup. So while it's viable on all the other time frames, it's safer on the daily or the 12-hour. Price is hitting support on USD Chf, but this pair is so messy. Look at the wicks on there that I'm not interested at all in trading it at the moment. USDCAD's had a pretty big drop down since last week. It is overall trending down. I'm very, very interested to see what happens at this support area. So there is definitely potential for a long trade, but if it smashes straight through, I'll be looking for a pullback. So basically, let me draw it out. Let's imagine that USDCAD smashes straight through here, right? Then I'll be looking for a pullback for a short trade. Now, if it doesn't smash through there, if instead it gets down to here, stalls out, I'll be looking for a long trade. So I just want to see what happens when price hits this support area. The reaction we get at the support area will dictate whether I'm looking for a long or a short. But it is fast approaching that area. So I will be looking for a potential trade from that area. USDCHF, similar scenario. We're just waiting for price to hit the support area. It's a pretty strong support area. Let's wait and see what happens when it hits it. And yeah, that's pretty much it for the analysis, guys. Keep in mind, we're 3 weeks out from the US election. This election it promises to be an interesting one. Normally, the US election does have an impact on the market, but this one is more likely than not going to have a much bigger impact. So we must trade with care over the coming weeks. Now, I held a webinar for members where I talked about trading safely through this election. I highly recommend you watch that webinar because it's important. It's a members only webinar. Please watch it. And that pretty much wraps it up for the analysis, guys. Is there any questions? Well, I'll go through the summary. So in AUDUSD, we're just waiting for a pullback to get into a short trade. We want to see a pullback to 0.71980. I know some of you are already in this one, but if you're not, then I'm waiting for a pullback. GBPJPY, we're just seeing if price pushes up to this resistance area for a potential short from this resistance area. Euro AUD, it's in a bit of a range. It's valid on down to the 6 hour. Just waiting for a price to push up to this resistance here for a potential short from resistance. USDCAD back to the daily, waiting for price to hit the support area for a potential long from the support area. And finally, USDCHF, similar to USDCAD, we're just waiting for price to push down to the support area for a potential long. Now, the longs on this are the first setup I look for, but if it breaks through, then I'll be considering a short on both of these. So the long is if it stalls, but then if it doesn't stall, I'll be looking for a short trade. So yeah, that wraps it up for the analysis, guys. Is there any questions? Just going to wait a minute or two for questions to come in, if there are any. Will I use a limit order on AUDUSD? Yes. I'll place my order as soon as this webinar is done. All right, it doesn't look like there's any other questions, so I'm going to wrap this one up. Thank you guys very much for attending. Tomorrow's webinar is probably going to be at the normal time of 10 a.m. So thank you guys, and bye.